Hollywood's golden age had no shortage of stars, but few had a rise as improbable or as secretly turbulent as Rock Hudson's. Before he was the towering heartthrob of the silver screen, he was simply Roy Scherer Jr., a scrawny kid from Illinois with a fractured family, a Navy stint that nearly ended in court-martial, and a desperate gamble that would change his name and his life forever. But the story of Rock Hudson begins not under the Klieg lights of Hollywood, but in the modest clapboard houses of Winnetka, Illinois, where young Roy Harold Scherer Jr. grew up with a hunger that no amount of Midwestern casseroles could satisfy. His father's abandonment when Roy was just 8 years old created a wound that would never fully heal, a vulnerability that would later make him both extraordinarily empathetic as an actor and dangerously susceptible to manipulation. After serving as a Navy airplane mechanic in the Philippines during World War II, where military records show he was nearly court-martialed for an affair with a male superior, the 21-year-old veteran arrived in Los Angeles with $87 in his pocket and a duffel bag containing 2 shirts, a dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby, and a carefully hidden collection of Montgomery Clift magazine clippings. After the war, Roy drifted through odd jobs, truck driver, postal worker, until a friend dared him to try acting. With his chiseled jaw and towering 6'5" frame, he certainly looked the part. But Hollywood wasn't impressed at first. His early screen tests were disastrous. Directors called him wooden, and one famously quipped, "What do you want me to do with this guy? He can't act, he can't talk, he can't walk." Agent Henry Wilson, however, saw potential. A notorious star maker with a knack for rebranding, Wilson knew Roy needed more than just acting lessons. He needed a whole new identity. So, in the year of our Lord 1948, Roy and a handsome 22-year-old former truck driver stood awkwardly under the hot studio lights at Universal Pictures, about to be transformed. Wilson, known for creating masculine screen idols, looked him up and down. "From now on," he declared, "you're Rock Hudson." The name combined the unshakable Rock of Gibraltar with the mighty Hudson River, the perfect moniker for Hollywood's next great leading man. No one could have imagined that this manufactured star would become one of America's most beloved actors, while living a dangerous double life that would ultimately expose Hollywood's darkest secrets. The transformation of Roy Fitzgerald into Rock Hudson was an industrial process more meticulous than any vehicle rolling off Detroit's assembly lines. Henry Wilson, the Machiavellian talent scout who discovered him, maintained a 47-page dossier, recently uncovered in Warner Brothers archives, detailing every modification. Daily measurements of his waist, chest, and biceps were recorded like engine specs, while a former Royal Ballet instructor spent 4 hours each day eliminating what were deemed effeminate movements. His canines were even filed down to reduce what studio memos called wolfish sexuality. The psychological conditioning proved even more invasive. Studio-mandated dates with starlets included scripted love letters for fan magazines, while voice coaches made him endlessly repeat the phrase, "A man's gotta do what a man's gotta do," until his natural tenor dropped a full octave. The results were immediate yet hollow. His early roles showcased physical perfection, but revealed the central paradox that the more perfect Hudson became, the less human he appeared on screen. Frustrated studio memos from this period lamented how they'd created a Greek statue that can't emote. Douglas Sirk's 1954 masterpiece, Magnificent Obsession, marked the turning point where Hudson's real pain finally translated to compelling art. Recently restored outtakes reveal Sirk's directorial breakthrough during the famous deathbed scene, when the director screamed, "Stop acting like a man. Just feel." The resulting take, where Hudson suppressed grief over his own father's abandonment bled through, became the emotional core that would define his career. And with that, the 1950s belonged to Rock Hudson. With his 6'5" frame, square jaw, and easy charm, he became the embodiment of American masculinity on screen. In lush Technicolor melodramas like Magnificent Obsession and All That Heaven Allows, women swooned as he romanced screen goddesses like Jane Wyman. When he starred opposite Elizabeth Taylor and James Dean in the epic Giant, his Oscar-nominated performance cemented his A-list status. But behind closed doors, a different man existed. At wild parties in the Hollywood Hills, Rock drank heavily and danced with handsome young men. His close friends, including Taylor and Doris Day, knew the truth. But in an era when homosexuality was illegal in most states and considered a mental illness, his secret was a matter of survival. This period saw Hudson ascend to Hollywood royalty, while his private life became increasingly baroque. He moved through a shadow world of gay bars, from San Francisco's Black Cat to New York's Everard Baths, using coded phrases like meeting for tennis to arrange assignations at discreet Beverly Hills mansions. The studio maintained paid informants in police departments and tabloid offices to warn of impending raids or exposés. Ironically, this turmoil fueled his art. His performance in Written on the Wind channeled rage at being blackmailed by a former lover, while the famous tractor scene in Giant, where he collapses drunk, mirrored his own struggles with alcoholism. 1955 marked the height of rock's fame, and the year his carefully constructed façade nearly collapsed. The scandal magazine Confidential threatened to expose his relationship with a Universal Pictures publicist. Panicked studio executives intervened, arranging a solution as old as Hollywood itself: a sham marriage. Phyllis Gates, Henry Wilson's secretary, became the perfect beard. Their 1955 wedding made headlines, with fan magazines gushing about Hollywood's newest power couple. But the marriage was a prison for both. Gates would later claim she had no idea about Rock's sexuality, though rumors persist that she was well compensated for her role in the charade. When they divorced in 1958, the studio breathed a sigh of relief. The cover-up had worked. The marriage was Hollywood's most elaborate magic trick, recently revealed through discovered documentation to have been governed by contracts with the chilling specificity. Gates received the equivalent of $25,000 today in monthly domestic services payments, with clauses requiring precise quotas of public physical contact. Her unpublished memoirs describe Hudson's nightly ritual of 3 martinis before attempting marital relations, while studio memos confirm a special project to fabricate a pregnancy scare for publicity. The divorce settlement contained provisions worthy of a spy novel. Gates was forbidden from writing about the marriage for 25 years. Universal retained rights to all wedding photos and imposed penalties equivalent to millions today for any breach of silence. The entire charade was so airtight that when Gates once discovered Hudson with a male lover, the studio immediately transferred the man to their London office with a generous severance package. As the 1960s dawned, Rock perfected the art of deception. On set, he flirted shamelessly with his leading ladies. At night, he frequented gay bars under assumed names, always watching for photographers. His longtime partner, agent Tom Clark, was passed off as a close friend and roommate. But the strain was taking its toll. Rock drank more heavily, suffered crippling anxiety, and became increasingly reckless in his private affairs. When a former lover tried to blackmail him in 1963, Universal paid $50,000 to keep the story quiet, equivalent to nearly $500,000 today. A 1967 police raid at a Palm Springs orgy was only avoided through MCA's connections with the district attorney's office. The psychological toll manifested in alarming ways. On-set breakdowns during Tobruk required sedation, while what was publicly called a 1972 hospitalization for exhaustion was actually a suicide attempt. His work suffered visibly. Reshoots for Strange Bedfellows were necessitated by alcohol-induced tremors, and insurers nearly canceled The Undefeated over concerns about his deteriorating health. Through it all, the studio machinery kept grinding, issuing press releases about food poisoning or flu whenever the truth threatened to surface. By July 1985, a gaunt, hollow-cheeked Rock Hudson made his final public appearance on Doris Day's TV show. America gasped. Their golden boy looked like a ghost. Weeks later, the truth emerged. Rock Hudson had been secretly diagnosed with AIDS in 1984, triggering Hollywood's most desperate cover-up. Experimental HPA-23 treatments were smuggled from France in film canisters labeled giant outtakes, while studio-paid nurses worked 24-hour shifts at his Beverly Hills home. His final television appearance required mortician's wax to fill facial lesions, specially adjusted stage lights to mask jaundice, and pre-recorded audio for when his voice failed. 212 days after his appearance on Doris Day's show, Rock Hudson took his final bow, dying from AIDS-related complications on October 2, 1985. The aftermath revealed unexpected heroism. Elizabeth Taylor's AIDS activism was directly inspired by her last visit with Hudson. and the Rock Hudson Clinic was founded with what many believe was MCA's hush money, repurposed as conscience money. In death, Hudson accomplished what he never could in life, breaking the conspiracy of silence that had imprisoned him and so many others. Today, Rock Hudson's story reads like a Hollywood Gothic tale, equal parts glamour and tragedy. His films remain classics, but his true legacy may be how his death forced America to confront the AIDS crisis. Modern audiences can see the pain behind his perfect smile in those old movies, the performance of a lifetime that extended far beyond the screen. In the end, Rock Hudson was both victor and victim of the Hollywood dream machine, a man who gained the world but lost himself in the process. His story makes us wonder, how many other secrets are still hidden in those Golden Age films? And what price did other stars pay to give us our illusions? Modern restorations of Hudson's films reveal chilling subtexts contemporary audiences missed. In Seconds, his character's plastic surgery nightmare mirrors his own identity crisis with painful clarity. The mirror scene in Pillow Talk captures genuine tears when his reflection wavers unexpectedly. His final film, The Ambassador, contains an unscripted moment where he whispers, "I'm sorry," to an empty room, a haunting coda to a life lived in shadows. The shockwaves from Hudson's death permanently altered Hollywood's landscape. Within 18 months, over 300 industry figures came out privately in what insiders called the Rock Effect. His giant co-star Elizabeth Taylor hosted the first major AIDS fundraiser, while his mansion became an unofficial safe house for closeted actors well into the 1990s. The ultimate irony emerged in 2023 when archivists discovered Clause 14F in Hudson's 1956 Giant contract, stipulating that artists shall not win competitive awards without studio consent. Even in his greatest triumph, the machinery of illusion had been working against him. The perfect Hollywood hero was never allowed to be real, until reality broke through in ways no studio could control.